Hi everyone, welcome to the video. We are Tuck Thunder, and today we're going to be looking at ammo in ground vehicles on War Thunder. The first part of the video is going to be a few tips we have, then we're going to look at kinetic rounds in War Thunder, like armor piercing, and then we're going to look at chemical rounds like heat and heat FS, breaking each shell down and giving you all the information you need to improve your game playing in War Thunder. Hope you enjoy the video. So our first tip when it comes to ammo in War Thunder is make sure you've got the right ammo and the best ammo for your tank. The way you can check this is hovering over at your chosen vehicle, going to modifications, and two ways. Either on the drop down under, so we'll see where it says 120mm gun, below it shows the ammo which the gun supports, or on the modifications page itself, you can see here is the first shell upgrade to the DM23, and then the second shell upgrade to the DM33. You have to research these by playing the tank. The research you earn by playing the tank then goes into the modifications, and then you can buy them. But make sure you have the best ammo ball and in use. Okay, our second tip is chemical shells. We're going to speak more about these, but very quickly, chemical shells explode on impact in War Thunder, which means that you can't shoot through a fence or a bush. If you see a tank, you have to make sure you have a clear line of sight. Otherwise, it's going to explode on that fence and not get the kill. However, a workaround for this is using your machine guns to clear the way, clear the bush, clear the fence, and then you can shoot the chemical shell.
When you spawn in a tank, you will be able to select how much ammo you take. You'll want to select around 20 to 30 ammo, depending on the tank itself. This is because if you fully select all of the ammo, when the tank gets penetrated, it will be sure to explode the ammo.
And then another important shell, a smoke shell. Smoke shells are pretty common across the board in all tanks, in all nations. And you can see it down here. It's usually the bottom tier of modifications. You might not have unlocked it, you might not have seen it. Basically, this shell literally is a smoke grenade, except you can shoot it. It's really helpful for creating walls of smoke and saving your allies at distance, and it really just changes kind of the form of battle if you use them correctly.
High explosive shells with time fuses are used against aircraft. You can set the fuse of the shell with the rangefinder. The shell will then explode when it's at that distance from your vehicle. They are rubbish. HEVT is high explosive with a variable time fuse. The shell knows how far away it is from the target and it explodes when it's at the minimum distance. These are awesome. The most basic type of shell in War Thunder is AP or armor piercing. This is a solid metal shot which will penetrate armor with its kinetic energy. Normally these have relatively high velocity and average damage, and they're often used on lower BR tanks. Penetration at angles is poor, and it does not excel in comparison to other shells. A modification of AP shells is to add a cap. This will make an APC shell. This increases penetration at angles. APBC and APCBC also exist. These have the addition of a ballistic capped and a cap ballistic capped cone, which increases penetration at angles and increases the ballistics of the shell. APCR, or Armor Piercing Composite Rigid, is a kinetic energy shell with a soft outside and a high density metal core. These shells have very high velocities and high penetration, but they have low damage and the penetration decreases quickly with range. APDS is the same as HVAP, except the sabot, which is the soft metal core, pulls off. The projectile is smaller than the width of the barrel, and it has a very high density core which is shot at extreme velocities. The penetration is very high, but the damage is low. APFSDS, armor piercing fin stabilized discarding sabot, is the same as APDS, but it's a very long shell that's like an arrow. It has extremely high penetration, extremely high velocity, however still has relatively low damage. This is often featured on top tier vehicles. Special mention to APHE, probably one of the most common shells in War Thunder. This is the same as an armor piercing shell with a fuse inside it that waits a certain distance and then explodes in the tank. This shell has huge damage, almost always able to one-shot a tank. However, its slow velocity does not mean that the penetration is always ideal.
So now we've looked at the kind of kinetic group of shells. We're going to look at the chemical group of shells, which is the other type of ammo in War Thunder. The first example we want to look at today is HE, which is high explosive. So this shell explodes on impact with extremely high damage due to its large caliber, and it's efficient at killing small armored targets and lightly armored targets. However, it does have low penetration and often slow velocity, making it hard to use and unable to damage more armored targets. And then we're going to move on to HESH. So this stands for High Explosive Squash Head. This has a plastic explosive which is molded onto the armor upon impact and then detonates, causing a shockwave through the armor, making fragments break inside the tank, creating shrapnel and a lot of damage. So it's great for high damage against angled armor, but it does need large caliber and often has a slow reload. Any kind of gun or tank that uses HESH usually has about a 20-30 second reload. In some cases it can be faster, but it can impede playing. So next up is Heat and Heat FS. The only difference between them being FS has the stabilized fins. Heat FS is high explosive anti-tank fin stabilized shell, and this shoots a jet of molten copper towards armor, and it has very high damage in a straight line and good penetration. However, it has low area damage within the tank, so it kind of damages where you aim, not much else. However, if that hits ammo, it's a great shell. This is often in higher BR tanks and top tier, as seen here on the Ariete. And then a special mention to a Heat Tandem. This isn't seen many places in the game. Wait, what the fuck? Heat and then Heat again.
Yeah, it's like heat and then heat.
Okay, so special mention to a Heat Tandem, which is effectively heat and then heat again. So it's literally a heat shell theory followed up by another heat shell. This gives extremely high penetration, as we can see here, 1200 millimeters. Great at angles, and it's an extremely powerful shell. This is only used at the very highest tier in War Thunder, as shown here on the USSR 9.3 tank. And then another special mention to anti-concrete shells, which is pretty much only on the KV2. The shell basically operates the same theory as armor-piercing high explosive or APHE, just slightly different in its composition. And another special mention goes out to TOW-2B. So this shell is similar to the TOW-2 and the ITO shells, which is effectively anti-tank guided missiles, just ATGMs. But the TOW-2B actually explodes above a target and fires projectile downwards, effectively creating good damage against thinner armor compared to the front. Very rare, only on high tier vehicles such as the Dardo 9.3 on the Italian tech tree. But worth noting about this shell, and if you see one of these tanks, it's worth knowing that just because your front is covered doesn't mean you're safe. So that kind of brings us to the end of the video. We hope all of the information has helped somewhat today. And again, the key takeaways from our tips are just make sure you check your modifications, make sure you don't take all the ammo that you can, make yourself more survivable. Chemical shells explode on impact, don't forget that. And if you're using time fuse shells, just be careful. And then all of the different ammo types have been broken down already. So we hope the information in the video has helped, and hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.
See you soon.